I used to hide behind a lot of masks. For a long time, I ran from, things that I knew that I was good at or things that I felt I was called to, and just hid behind things that I felt would be more socially accepted. Playing a sport, and I idolized that sport, idolized everything about the sport, which was football, American football. I really had endeavors to go, to a collegiate or maybe, God willing, a professional level, and it didn't happen. And when that day came, I went into a deep, deep depression, anxiety, all that stuff. And that's when I really could say that, my story started to change, and there was a transition that really occurred in my life where I had an encounter, um, where I had a decision to make, stay where I was or move forward with what God was calling me to do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Meta Transitions. Today, we have with us Michael Manhertz. Michael is my cousin, and I'm so happy to have him here with us. He's going to talk about his story, and hopefully, you'll enjoy it. Welcome, Michael, to our show.
Thank you so much, Tricia, for having me. I appreciate being here with you and the community today.
Definitely. All right, so we're just going to go right into it, Michael. What is your story?
My story is very interesting. At a young age, I used to, hide behind a lot of masks, um, being ashamed of who I was, being ashamed of what I felt I was called to do, at the guise of, either peer pressure or being ashamed of me being a Christian, the gospel of Jesus Christ at that point in time. And for a long time, I ran from, things that I knew that I was good at or things that I felt I was called to, and just hid behind things that I felt would be more socially accepted. And those things came in, like, being an athlete or, hanging with the friends, doing things that I knew that at that time in my life, I shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And it really took me on a different course of things in my life, as I based a lot of my life on this mask that I was wearing. So it wasn't truly who I was. It wasn't who I truly um, projected myself to be, but I went along with it to really, put on a facade, so to speak, because I thought that was the acceptable thing. And this came about by, playing a sport. And I idolized that sport, idolized everything about the sport, which was football, American football. And I really had endeavors to go, to a collegiate or maybe, God willing, a professional level, and it didn't happen. And when that day came, I went into a deep, deep depression, anxiety, all that stuff. And that's when I really could say that, my story started to change, and there was a transition that really occurred in my life where I had an encounter, where I had a decision to make, stay where I was or move forward with what God was calling me to do. And I believe that, um, through that time, that deep dark time, even though it was challenging, I believe that God presented me with an opportunity to walk down the road that He had wanted me to do. It was like a rock bottom moment where you have to, like, you fall and you have to, like, look up, and it's only up that you can go. And
Yeah.
I believe that's where I was really led to. And that's a little bit about my story and how I veered to where I am now, which I could definitely speak more about too, where, I feel God has called me to be, the beacon of light to people who used to be in the place that I was, ashamed of the gospel, not as forthcoming, whether they're at work, whether they're at wherever they may be, just to be bold about who you are. So I pride myself on, being unashamed of the gospel, and everything I do, spreading that light, shining that light as much as I can. So that's led me now to, even music ministry or ministry with youth, young adults, to be able to share and impact them. So that's a little bit about my story, and, a little bit about my transition there. So yeah.
Wonderful. No, thank you for digging a little deeper in there and, sort of just putting it all out. Thank you for sharing that. And, it helps me also because I'm reflecting while you're talking. I'm like, yeah, like what is my experience with, sharing the gospel and, how could I relate to this? And I'm remembering, pieces of myself in what you're saying there, that sense of the facade that you talk about, that mask that you wear around, right? Wanting to show, this perception of yourself to other people, rather than the acceptance of who you are in Christ, right? So I can definitely relate to that for sure. And then that freedom that came with, just recognizing, what failure happened, right? I wasn't able to, attain the thing that I thought would be success for me, and having to let go of that and going through that transition, like you said, that dark time in your life. But it sounded like that dark time was what helped you to connect with yourself, and then helped you to then be able to figure out, okay, this is what I really need to be doing here, inspiring people and bringing people to an understanding of who God is through music and through ministry. So it's a powerful story for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah, definitely. All right. So our second question goes into a little deeper, talking about like specific pinpoints along the way that, allowed you to understand maybe that this was a transitional point, or this was a pivotal point along the journey that, helped me to understand that I was on this transition, journey with my life. Like, can you identify some pivotal points along the way?
Some pivotal points I would definitely say, going back here in my mind to high school, grade 12 in high school, and or rather, yeah, grade 12 in high school. And I remember, you know, working really hard that year to, maintain a specific average to, appeal to universities. They say, can you get this type of average to, be accepted? And I worked my tail off, and I did it. And eventually, there was some type of small circumstances that didn't allow me to progress. And it really devastated me because I felt like that was everything I was working towards. And that was a pinpoint moment where I can really say, you know, it was like, whoa, like, it's like, all like the ground underneath me just began to start like crumbling. It's like everything I stood on was just pulled from underneath me, like a rug was pulled from underneath me. And I began to question a lot of what I was doing, questioning who I was. Am I really called to do this? Am I good enough? There was like internal conflict that came from that one thing. And I began to, just at that point began to just, isolate myself amongst my family, amongst my home, amongst, my, different people that would see me on a day-to-day basis. Um, and that's when I'll definitely say that there was, a noticeable transition, that point there. But also that transition helped to really point me towards the purpose that I needed to follow. Because in the midst of that, there were points and times where, um, you know, I felt like I hit rock bottom. And in that, I would be, in my room, just praying, meditating. And out of that came a song. And
Mhm.
that song was actually the first song that I ever released, called Take It All. It came from a really deep place of hurt, guilt,
Yeah.
shame, and stuff like that. So even that song is like an encouragement to those who may be going through something similar, that whatever you're going through, that I personally believe, and I know that, Christ can take all that insecurity, take all that pain, take everything away, if you lean and rely on him. So that's definitely one of the most pivotal moments that I can definitely say from there. And after that, it was just, things started aligning, where God was saying, people were like, God would say, I need you to do this. And I would be like, no. And some people would just randomly come to me. I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying, God. So it was just like, a snowball effect of things happening after that. And I'm kind of grateful for that moment. I know it seems strange to say that, but I feel like if I didn't hit that point in my life, I would not be operating in purpose and destiny now. So I'm kind of, in a way, grateful that God kind of removed that thing from me, because I focused so much on something that is dear to my heart. I still love football,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, God had something greater in store for me. So yeah, that's the one pivotal moment that I'll definitely say stands out for me.
For sure. So recognizing in sort of your despair is sometimes, the place where God meets you and then speaks to you and says, "This is what I want to tell my people," right? In the pit of your despair. And, I could see how that would be a driving force because, again, like you said, there was pain, there was sorrow, right? And from that came the words for your song, which was again a big hit. I really like it. I listen to it from time to time. So you heard it here, guys. Go check out Michael's song "Take It All" on Spotify, right? Are there any other places they can check it out?
In 2021, you can listen to it anywhere. It's available everywhere.
Wonderful. All right, Michael. So the last thing we generally ask is, are there some tips that maybe you can give to a young person out there, or someone who is in the depth of their despair, and would like, to do something with their life? Like, what are some tips maybe you could give to them?
Tips that I can give to somebody that's in a similar situation is what you're saying?
Similar situation. Yeah.
Okay. To somebody that's in a similar situation, I would definitely say when you find yourself in despair, is not to isolate yourself. Isolating yourself would be probably one of the most mm, hardest things to change, or not to change, but the most things that would affect you, because you start to uh, begin giving into the doubts that you're hearing in your head when you're by yourself. But it's important to have people around you that will affirm you based on who they know you to be, and speak into your life based on what they can see you to be as well. So I'll definitely say do not isolate yourself. And I'd also say um, if you are really depressed and anxious, I would also recommend seeking professional counseling and therapy. I know a lot of people in the past would say, "No, I don't need that," but it's very important to go to therapy, to counseling. Sometimes there's underlying issues that we may have suppressed, coming up, that have caused these things, and it's great to talk about them. So I'll definitely say not to isolate yourself. Speak to somebody, a professional, and as well, also, if you are, well, depending on your age, if you're underage or if you're age of maturity, you can either speak to an adult, or again, speak to somebody about it, that you're not, going through this alone, because going through this alone is probably the thing that would really eat away at your self-confidence, your self-esteem the most. So that's, I guess, more or less the two things I would say. Don't go through it alone. Find somebody to speak to, and then seek professional counseling um, in through this journey. So that's the two things I would say.
Wonderful. Now, those are great tips, Michael. Definitely we find that a lot of people think that they're alone, right? That's one of the reasons this channel exists. It's one of the reasons it was born, out of that idea to help others recognize that, what, you're not alone. There are people out there going through something similar to you. And hopefully, someone can gain some inspiration from your message today, from what you shared. So thank you for that. So before you go, we generally ask that you plug yourself. Like, how can people find you? What music's out there that they can connect with and support you?
Awesome. So the music that I have out there, like I said before, the first single I ever came out with is called "Take It All," which you can find on all digital platforms. Another song I have is called "Holy," that speaks about obviously the holy nature of God. And then the final song I released this year, not final, but the most recent single I released, is called "Deeper," where it will get you up on your feet, dancing, moving, and grooving. So you can find all these on social media. I'm sorry, on digital platforms and social media, where you could, listen to them. You could also follow me on social media at Michael Manhertz Music. Um, Same thing with Twitter, same thing with Facebook. I am very friendly. Don't worry, I won't bite. I will respond. And yeah, I have some music that is coming out very soon as well. Over the summer, I was very privileged to work on a project called the Unashamed Project as well, which stems from what I was speaking about, being ashamed of the gospel, but now, promoting people being bold about what they believe, bold about their faith. So a visual is coming out very soon, maybe in the next few weeks. You can find on YouTube. You type in my name, Michael Manhertz Music, on YouTube. You'll be able to see a visual of what we're doing. So I'd love your support there, and if you guys like it, you guys let me know, and then definitely let me know how you feel about it. All right.
Wonderful. All right. So you heard it, everyone. You can go and check out Michael on all, different platforms. So I'm thinking Spotify, I'm thinking YouTube, I'm thinking, Amazon Music, I'm thinking iTunes, like all the different platforms you can think of where music is available. You can check him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I will be putting all of this in the description box below. So you can go and click on those links to access his music and to talk to him. All right, so there you have it, folks. Until next time, take care.